Hello and welcome to this edition of the Poke Report. I'm Chris Horn.
And I'm Corbyn Wheeler. Each week we'll give you an in-depth look inside the world of OSU athletics.
From baseball and softball to equestrian, we have everything you need to know about the spring sports. The Poke Report starts now.
Well, it's April, and that means baseball. The major leagues kicked off their regular season this week, but the most excitement is coming from just down the road. Our own OSU baseball team is showing last year's run was no fluke. Over the weekend, the Cowboys welcomed Texas to town for a 3-game series, then sent the Longhorns packing by sweeping all 3 games.
The wins put OSU firmly atop the Big 12 standings with a 7-2 record. That's huge in a very difficult conference. In fact, the OSU baseball program doesn't shy away from a tough opponent. In one of the top conferences and a strong out-of-conference schedule, the Cowboys' strength of schedule ranks 14th in the nation. Mason Doherty tells us why the Cowboys focus so much on trying to have one of the toughest schedules in college baseball.
The Cowboys enter this week with an RPI of 11 in the nation. They've had a heavy dose of tough competition already compared to last season. The Cowboys opened up this season at Arizona State and took 1 out of 3. They also played the 2014 Pac-12 champs Oregon State in the Big 12 Pac-12 Challenge in Mesa, Arizona. The Cowboys' strength of schedule this year is ranked 14th compared to finishing 45th last season. Coach Josh Holliday says it's the toughest schedule the program has had in many years. Making a tough schedule is not an exact science. They are made usually a year or 2 in advance, and teams hope by then their opponents are contenders. It's a crapshoot that can cost teams playoff berths.
The last thing you want to do is have a good record and then either not get in the NCAA tournament or not host a regional because your strength of schedule was poor or your RPI was low.
With the schedule as tough as OSU's, you'd think the players would be more concerned about it and have more thoughts about the schedule. But with one player on the team, it's just another day at the office.
I know we had a tough schedule from just hearing about it, and I think this team, we're just trying to focus on, us getting better each day.
Even though the players might not think much about the schedule, teams that are successful in the College World Series do. All these teams had a much higher RPI than OSU last year. Texas finished the season with the 2nd toughest schedule, along with Vanderbilt ranking 3rd.
I think RPI really matters. It appears as if it's one of the main criteria used to judge teams, reward teams, and ultimately put you in a stronger position in the postseason.
For Holliday, it's not what the team record says from the naked eye. He doesn't want to focus on wins or losses. He says he'd rather challenge his team and play for the moment than the overall record.
If you go on the road and lose a close game in a sporting event, there's probably more good that comes of that than if you stayed home and pounded on a weaker opponent. I'm not really sure what you get from that. So I think you have to look at it from the growth of your team.
The Cowboys were tested earlier in the season, but have bounced back. They started the season 1-3, but now are 19-9. For the Poke Report, I'm Mason Doherty.
That tough schedule continues this weekend as the Cowboys will travel to Kansas to play 3 against the Jayhawks.
We are about halfway into the college baseball season, and although things do change from year to year, the NCAA has tried to focus this season specifically on increasing offensive output. One change that a lot of people are talking about involves the seams on baseballs in college play. We sent Greg Cimino out to take a closer look at the numbers behind the new ball.
Heading into the 2015 college baseball season, the NCAA made a noticeable change to the ball by lowering the seams in hopes that teams would be putting up better offensive numbers. And looking at the statistics, comparing 2014 with 2015 through the last weekend of March, they were right, especially with the long ball. Home runs per game per team are up by 39%, and scoring is up by 5%. As expected with increasing home run numbers, so are ERAs, going from 4.21 to 4.28. So how much of a difference does the flat seams baseball affect a pitcher's approach?
No, it's not going to really affect me much. I still have to stick with my game plan. The ball might move a little bit differently, but it's so minuscule for me that it doesn't make any difference in what I'm doing. I'm still throwing the same pitches.
The flat seam baseballs don't just benefit the bats in the lineup. There is some upside to the change for the pitchers as well.
As you can see, the height of the seams between the old ball and the new ball aren't that far off from one another. In fact, only 0.017 inches make up the difference, which could be a tremendous advantage for a pitcher.
You know, the plus is you see less blisters, you less finger issues, because the bigger seams always created issues for guys.
For OSU, keeping their guys on the mound is a huge part of its success. Throughout 28 games, the Cowboys are second in the Big 12 and 14th in the nation with a team ERA of 2.61. As for the big picture in college baseball, with such a small sample size to dissect from, the Division I Baseball Committee expects to review the effects of the new baseballs regularly.
I do believe that we are committed to seeing this thing through at least for 2 to 3 years and give the statistical analysis enough time to prove itself out one way or the other.
As for now, home runs are up from this point last year, but so is strikeouts per 9 innings by 10.5%. So I'd say it's becoming more of a balanced game. For the Poke Report, I'm Greg Cimino.
Swing and a miss. There it was again.
Well, it's probably too early to tell for certain, but the Cowboys are definitely scoring runs lately. Regardless of the seam height on a baseball, the Cowboys need their defense at its best to shut down opposing teams on a regular basis. When a key player is injured as the season starts, it hinders the starting lineup and chemistry of the team. One key defensive player the Cowboys are happy to see back is junior shortstop Donnie Walton.
I mean, I never stopped swinging the bat. I've always, take extra cuts or anything like that. And usually you get a callus right in your hand, right where the hamate is.
Injuries like Walton's are common among baseball players because they have been playing most of their lives. The more consistent they swing the bat, the more the bat will cause wear and tear on the hamate bone located in the wrist.
Injury to the bone, so it's really the torsional pressure of the bat knob on the palm of the hand that causes that little bone in the wrist to break.
Now that he is back, he is continuing to see success. Walton had 3 hits and scored twice in the finale against Texas last weekend. Well, one element of this Cowboy team is that it overcomes adversity to get stronger. Donnie Walton isn't the only Cowboy baseball player that has experienced setbacks. Courtney Brown takes a deeper look at the struggle one OSU pitcher had to face before he could reach his dream.
If your dream came true, what would it look like?
Professional baseball player.
Always?
Always, man, since I was 5 years old.
Oklahoma State senior Jonathan Perrin has never let anything come between him and his dreams. Born with Group B strep infection, his chances of surviving were slim. After staying in the neonatal intensive care unit for 2 weeks at Shawnee Mission Medical Center in Shawnee, Kansas, his parents were allowed to take him home. Only 6 months later, another tragedy happened to John.
John was crawling on the kitchen floor, and the husky attacked him and ripped his nose off his face. We're having ambulances take him, and he's having major plastic surgery.
After the first surgery, John had 2 other surgeries to smooth out and correct his nose. The doctor told his parents if he had any more surgeries, he wouldn't have been able to play outside because the sun rays would damage his skin. So, just like most parents would do, Tom and Susan raised John just like any other child.
My dad definitely is the person that kind of pushed me. When I was younger, he made me go out and practice when I didn't want to.
John played many different sports like basketball and football. He found a strength with baseball in junior high when he played for Team USA at the Youth Friendship Games in the Netherlands, where he hit his first and last home run. When it was time to take the next step at Olathe East High School, he found his next hurdle. His best friend John Mean says, "John and I were the fattest kids on the team. We were always the slowest in the back of the running line. John decided he wasn't fast enough to play football or basketball, and because running the bases also required speed, he decided the best way to reach his dream would be to focus on his pitching. After graduation, he played for a Natural Baseball Academy. He was a hothead, and Coach Scott Jones says he needed to focus on controlling his anger before going further in his career.
The more upset you get, then the more uptight you become. The more uptight you become, your velocity goes down, your movement goes down. Things from your pitching perspective get a lot worse.
Creighton, Wichita State, and Missouri recruited John, but he wanted to pitch for D1 college. John went to summer and winter baseball camps at OSU. At first, the coaching staff was interested in John, but then he fell off the radar. He signed with Allen Community College and was dead set attending there until one summer day.
Really good summer. Played in a tournament here at OSU in front of the old coaching staff. Threw pretty well.
The following weekend, he was playing in Wichita, and his dream of playing for D1 college came true with one phone call.
I remember him telling me, he goes, "Mom, I'm going to be a cowboy." And man, that was so overwhelming.
After he finally became a Cowboy, he still has a bumpy road ahead of him before he can play professional baseball, which is his one dream. For the Poke Report, I'm Courtney Brown.
The Cowboys will be back at home next week as they take on Oral Roberts. That's a wrap-up of our baseball coverage for this week. When we come back, we will fill you in on what is going on with the Cowgirl softball team.
Welcome back to the Poke Report. Just like baseball, Cowgirls softball is in full swing. Poke Report reporter Dan Lindblad is in studio with us and has an interesting report about some bat changes in college softball. Dan, what's something fans maybe don't know about softball bats?
Yeah, Chris. As technology continues to advance, so do the bats in the game of college softball. A good bat can help a player get the most out of her swing. I took a deeper look onto why a good bat can go a long way.
The most important pieces of equipment in softball are the bat and the ball. Although the ball tends to be universal throughout, the bat can be customized specific to each team. Oklahoma State softball is under contract with Mizuno to use their bats and gloves. One of the most popular choices for the Cowgirls is the Nighthawk. Junior Michaela Patton says she likes this bat because of its construction.
Mizuno actually just came out with their first two-piece bat, which is really exciting for me because I've always loved two-piece bats.
A two-piece bat is built with the whip effect, so it generates more bat speed. A one-piece bat is made with less flex, thus generating more power through contact. Patton says having a choice of bat is a nice change.
In the past, they've just handed us a bat. If we were lucky, it had our number on it, which is pretty darn cool. But this year, Mizuno switched it up a bit, and they brought a couple different bats for us to try out. And the new bats they came out with really have a lot of pop, and I like them a lot.
Bats come in a variety of different colors and sizes, such as these. Visuals aren't the final determinant to what the players will use on the field. The NCAA sets regulations according to bat compression as well as ball speed after contact. And ultimately that's what determines what makes a bat legal, such as this one, or illegal, like these.
The NCAA releases new approved bat lists when it deems necessary. The speed for a ball after contact must remain below 98 miles per hour to not receive a strike. OSU softball head coach Rich Willigman says handling compression is important in the efforts to keep speed down.
The compression testing that they do stipulates a bat's compression has to stay at a certain amount. If it gets too low, the trampoline effect will cause the ball to go too fast off the bat. And so we have to keep those bats above a certain amount in the compression.
Willigman also said it is his job as head coach to follow these guidelines to make sure players on both sides remain safe. For the Poke Report, I'm Dan Lindblad.
Thanks, Dan, for the interesting insight on college softball bats. Who knew there would be that many guidelines players and coaches had to follow when choosing a bat?
Switching gears now from offense to defense, there is one Cowgirl player who is adjusting to life as a collegiate athlete. Tara Beal tells us about one player's journey from Washington to Oklahoma.
1,949 miles. That's how far Michaela Patton is from home. After transferring to Oklahoma State from Savannah State, Michaela has found a new home in Stillwater on the OSU softball team. Although her softball career is the most notable of her long list of accomplishments, soccer was the first sport that captured her heart.
I played soccer for a while. Actually, I played premier soccer for the Federal Way Reign. We traveled, played a lot in California. It was a pretty competitive team, and I just decided halfway through high school that softball was what I wanted.
Believe it or not, the co-head coach of the Washington Huskies softball program played one of the most influential roles on Michaela's decision to transfer to OSU.
For me, Oklahoma was a chance to get to know another culture, and in doing so, I fell in love with the people and fell in love with the school. It gives you an appreciation for what's truly outside your border of the state that you're currently living in, and it gave me the opportunity to pass along some of those pearls of wisdom in terms of truly being able to grow up.
Although Michaela spends much of her time right here in Cowgirl Stadium, she has found a way to juggle the stress of being a collegiate athlete.
A lot of the times we have morning workouts. Sometimes they're at 6 in the morning. If I'm lucky, I'll have time to go home and shower real quick before class. If not, go straight to class. Going to class all day, and then practice is in the afternoon. Hopefully squeeze some lunch in there. And after practice is about when I have time to study and get my papers done and get all my schoolwork squared away.
Michaela's dad, Brian, played third baseman at Seattle University and had the opportunity to play for the Oakland A's, but instead chose his career as an engineer. He still finds a way to support Michaela from afar.
I try to get there at least once, if not a couple times, to get a chance to see her. I'm going to fly down twice in the next month. I'm going to be there for the Texas Tech Series, and I'm going to be there for the Texas Series in Stillwater.
For the Poke Report, I'm Tara Beal.
Patton has started 16 games for the Cowgirls this year and is settling in at the shortstop position. So far, the results have been good. She only has 1 error on the season. The Cowgirls return to conference play this weekend at Iowa State.
Coming up next on the Poke Report, we steer away from the baseball and softball diamonds and tell you about how scouting in one sport has become a lot easier throughout the years.
Also, we'll tell you about one Cowgirl soccer player's battle through adversity. You don't want to miss what's coming up next on the Poke Report. Welcome back to the Poke Report. I'm Corbyn Wheeler.
And I'm Chris Horan. Compared to other sports, tennis is harder to scout opponents. The most useful tool in tennis scouting is something the average person uses every day. Justin Packard takes an inside look at how the Cowboys use scouting to their advantage.
Tennis is a unique sport when it comes to scouting out opponents. Coaches do most of the brunt work to help the players be successful, and with the internet exploding, it's becoming easier for teams to know their opponents. Assistant coach Nate Feldman says the team uses email and Facebook to look at players. He says the coaches try to help out the players for any match they might play.
So kind of as things have shrunk because of technology, we've been able to get in better touch with a lot of the international players.
The coaches provide match notes for the players. They show whether a player has a stronger forehand or backhand, maybe how mobile they are. Senior Jacob Sood says the match notes are important, but the players worry more about their own game.
Yeah, we primarily focus on our game style, because if we focus on our stuff, then it's really hard to beat us.
While scouting is a major part of the game, it all comes down to the individual matches, and the players try to win by keeping their opponents off balance. One way to do that is use a variety of shots, one of which is the slice, where a player will take their racket and slide right underneath the tennis ball to make it go right over the net and have a low bounce.
Each player has his own style. Sood says he plays more aggressive and works to keep his opponent moving.
Because I don't like rhythm and grinding so much, so I try to shorten up the rallies.
Sood's doubles partner is Arjun Kade. Kade says he uses all of his shots to keep his opponents guessing. He says he tries not to repeat a shot more than twice in a row.
I like to use my variety as a weapon as well in my game, and as these courts are slow, so variety, if you use like a slice, if you use heavy spin, and then if you mix it up, it's going to be beneficial for you, and the opponent's going to get less rhythm when you play with him.
Kade says his variety helps him stay on the offensive side for most of the match. The Cowboys look to stay aggressive and break their opponents down to win matches, something they work on every day in practice. For the Poke Report, I'm Justin Packard.
Sood is one of only 2 seniors on the team and leads the team throughout practice. Anything from stretching drills, he motivates them throughout and helps them perfect their skills along with the coaches. The Cowboys are 15-5 on the year under the leadership of the All-American. OSU finishes out the season on the road and hopes to build momentum toward the Big 12 championships in Waco.
Now on to Cowgirl soccer. In the split of a second, one Cowgirl soccer player thought she could see her career coming to an end. Jose Polanco has the story.
Is an athlete's least favorite word. When Cowgirl soccer goalkeeper Michaela Ungaro fell to the ground during an off-season workout last summer, that word is the first thing that went through her mind.
My legs came around the hurdles instead of over, and I just kind of came in and popped the ACL, MCL, and part of my meniscus.
It was a tough break for a player who had fought herself in for a spot on the roster. A native of Heartland, Wisconsin, she grew up playing soccer but never dreamed of playing it at a college level. After attending a showcase at OSU and getting no interest from any Division I schools, Ungaro thought she had reached the end of her soccer career. However, destiny gave her a second chance to show her skills to the Cowgirl soccer coaching staff.
I ended up just coming here to visit my grandma one summer, and there was a summer camp, their ID camp that we do every year here that same week. So I just happened to do it, and after the first session, Collin came up to me and said, "Email us, we want to talk to you."
Ungaro wasn't expecting to start in her first year, but after a series of bad results, Coach Collin Carmichael felt it was time to make a change. It was Ungaro's chance to start, and she took advantage of the chance given to her.
In her freshman year, Ungaro started in 14 games and was named to the Big 12 All-Newcomer team. She was set to be the Cowgirl starting goalkeeper for a long time until the fateful day of her injury.
I couldn't believe it. After all the hard work, the eating right, the working hard in the summer, doing all the workouts, all the extra workouts, it was a shot.
She was definitely had a shot, and was a big part of what we were planning on doing. And you know, whenever you lose a good player, it's just hard. And she's such a leader too with her communication, so that was a bit of a blow.
But Ungaro wouldn't let this obstacle get in her way. She immediately hit the weight rooms and began her long rehabilitation with the strength and conditioning coaches.
You're here for the soccer. You're not here for the weight room. You're not here for the sprints. You're not here for the off-season workouts. But being back on the field, the gloves on, making saves, it's been really great.
Ungaro is set to be the starting goalkeeper next season and is already looking like her old self during spring games. For the Poke Report, I'm Jose Miguel Polanco.
Ungaro has battled her way back to success and will be a leader for the Cowgirl soccer team in the fall 2015 season.
Coming up, we have an interesting perspective on track athletes. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the Poke Report. Corbyn, I know you played a lot of sports, and there's a lot of training involved to be an outstanding athlete.
That's right, Chris. Every athlete is different, which means workouts should be custom-made to each athlete. Kyle Much tells us how track utilizes different workout regimens throughout its program.
Every athlete has some kind of weight training experience, and track is no different. Whether they are a distance runner or a sprinter, they get some kind of resistance training to help them with their event. The differences lie within the program they are training under. Sprinters rely on heavy and intense compound movements to improve their times, while distance runners do much lighter exercises simply to stimulate the muscle. Fabian Clarkson runs the steeplechase and relies mostly on mobility exercises to help with getting over obstacles.
Sprinters spend hours in the weight room. I mean, they have to be so strong. So, yeah, it's we spend way more time just repeating the motion of running, but we don't spend hardly any time doing core.
Sprinters and cross-country runners differ greatly when it comes to the weight room. Sprinters use things like the squat, and the power clean to build strength and power off the starting block. Sprinters practice running as well, but with much less volume than distance runners. Mostly they tend to spend most of practice in the starting blocks to develop reactive power that starts in the weight room. Sprint coach Diego Flacker relies on having his athletes develop their power in the weight room and apply it to the track.
The power cleans is a big one for us. We always supplementing it with a jump. There's a vertical jump or a continuous jump over hurdles. That's when we do the reactive power stuff, but sometimes we may do a squat and go over and now go into an alternate bounce, take that up and down movement and now carry it into more horizontal.
And being able to transfer the vertical power of the squat and the power clean to the horizontal power of running is the end goal for sprinter John Teeters.
I mean, just pushing out of the blocks really fast and being reactive, I mean, that's what we've really worked on. And as far as just catching people, just running like those 300s and those 250s and those 200s.
Being big and strong is beneficial to a sprinter, but detrimental to a long-distance runner. The extra weight would simply slow them down. For the Poke Report, I'm Kyle Much.
As you can tell, there is a lot more to being a track athlete than just running.
That's all the time we have on this edition of the Poke Report. We hope to see you again as we continue our coverage of Oklahoma State athletics. Make sure to head to the Michael and Ann Greenwood tennis facility this weekend as women's tennis takes on Kansas and Kansas State. I'm Chris Horn.
And I'm Corbyn Wheeler. Don't forget to visit the Poke Report website for more OSU sports. Thanks for watching.